In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this American flag home plate. It's a quick and easy project that you can make out of scrap wood or a single 1x10 and some 1/2-inch plywood. Stick around and check it out. So as I'm filming this video, 2 of my kids' baseball seasons just finished up, and we wanted to give these as gift to their head coaches. I chose to leave this one generic, but you can also customize this for that baseball fan in your life, or you can make them like this and just batch out a bunch of them for sale. I'll leave a link in the description for the build plans in case you want to play along at home. Now I batched out a bunch of these at once, and I'm going to make a separate video about that process with some tips and tricks on how to maximize your workflow and minimize your cost. So make sure and subscribe and hit that bell icon so you get notified when I release that video. Okay, enough with the chit chat.
Chit chat. In this chitty chat.
Let's get after it.
The first thing I do is cut out my union. Then I'll cut out all the stripes and all the frame pieces. Then I'll cut all the stripes down to their final width. Now's a great time to go ahead and burn and then stain your union, because you're going to need to paint the stars on once the stain is dried. As soon as the stain is on, wipe off the excess. Then I'll go over to the router table. I'll put a chamfer on the top and bottom of each stripe. And I'll put a single chamfer around the top edge of the frame. This is what you should have when you're done with all the cuts and all the chamfers. Then it was time to burn all the stripes. Now what I decided to do here was burn one side of each stripe, and then once I get to the last one, the first one has been cooled off enough that I can start burning the other side of each stripe. I'm also choosing which orientation I want each stripe, which end do I want a knot, or just how the character of the wood flows. Make sure you burn the chamfers as well. And then I separate the white from the red stripes. You're going to have one more red stripe than you have white, and so you should have 7 red, which you see on the right, and then 6 white, which you see on the left. And then it was time to stain all the pieces. Now you saw me do this in the American flag build as well. Basically, the longer you leave the stain on, the darker the stain will be. So by the time I get them all stained, I basically roll right into wiping the excess off, and it's got just the right amount of stain on it. And I do the white stripes at the same time as well. And here's what you should have by the end of that. Then it's time to cut out the back of the flag. And for this, I'm going to turn to my trusty track saw here. I love this thing. Just make sure you don't cut into the floor. So again, I batched these out. So I cut off a strip 17 inches wide, took it over to the table saw, cut out 17 inches tall. And then after marking the diagonals, I went back over to the track saw and made those cuts. Super simple. You've seen me use this before as well, this Easy Tack. You spray it on the back of the template, and then you put it right on to what you're going to spray paint. Just remember, when you put it on, you want to press down around the corners of each star, because if you don't, when you spray paint it, you might get some bleed out. Now this is in real time. I wanted to show you how quick and easy this is, but I am spraying a little too close. The velocity of the spray got up under the template even with the Easy Tack on there. So you want to keep it a little farther away so it's just kind of misting. Then it's time to glue the union and the stripes on. Now I ended up using a different method after I got this union on, but you'll see that when I get to the stripes. For the union, I went ahead and put 2 brad nails in, right where I knew there were going to be stars, so the paint would cover them up. But then I realized that's probably not the best way to do it, so I went ahead and clamped it. Flipped it back over. Oh yeah, hey, drop it. Make sure you drop it. That's very important. And then I put way too many brad nails in this thing. I put a lot less later down the road. Wait, 3 more. Okay, so now it's time for the stripes. Now for the stripes, I changed up my game. I got out my CA glue. I put wood glue on the center. Of course, I spread it out. And then I put CA glue on either side, which is basically where each end of the stripes will be. So I'll spray each end of the stripes, hold it down for about 5 or 10 seconds, and I'll do that for each stripe. And that will hold it just long enough for me to get all the stripes on, flip it over, and put some more brad nails in. Now as you put these stripes on, you want to make sure and keep them nice and tight, or by the time you get to the bottom of the union, it won't be level with the bottom. And then I do the same thing for the bottom stripes. This method really worked well. Now that it's done, I'm going to put a towel down just so I don't scratch up the front of this. And then I'll put, again, way too many brad nails in here. You really only need about 3 brad nails per stripe, 1 on each end and 1 in the middle. As Jimmy DiResta says, you really go to school on the first one and then you get better as you go. So by the time I made my last one, it was 3 brad nails per stripe. And then it's back to the track saw. I put a foam board down just to protect the stripes and everything. I'm going to cut the stripes flush with the plywood back, which is the real advantage to having that plywood back. You could also do this with a flush trim bit. I just think this is a whole lot easier if you have a track saw. And this is what it looks like up to this point. Now you could stop here, but I wanted to put a frame around the sides, which is what you see there on the left. So in order to do the frame, you have 3 corners that will be a 45-degree angle and 2 corners that are a 67.5-degree angle. So I'll set my blade to 45 degrees. So I start in the top left, and then I'll get each 45-degree joint perfect. I'll figure out where the other 45 on the other end of that board needs to go. And I really want to sneak up on the fit here. You can always take more off of a board, but you can't put more on a board. So I'll work on the top 2 joints, and once those are good, I'll work on the bottom point. And then I'll tilt the blade to 67.5 and then do the other joints. So when it's time to put the frame on, I do the same technique that I did for the stripes. A little glue down the middle, a little super glue on each end, and then I'll brad nail with 3 brad nails this time, each part of the frame. And I'll work my way clockwise around just to make sure I got all those cuts just right. And if I don't, I'll go back to the table saw and trim them up. It's nice, like a glove.
Like a glove.
A couple final touch-ups. You can burnish the corners, and you're going to see why here in a second. It just kind of closes up those joints. The beauty of this is it's rustic, so it doesn't have to be exactly perfect like fine furniture. And here's why. When you start to burn those corners, the wood will contract, which makes that gap a little bit bigger. Now I like to burn the corners just because it gives it a little bit more of character, a little bit more of a contrast, but you don't want to burn it too much because it'll open that gap and then you can see through it. After I burn it, I hit it one more time with the burnisher and admire my handiwork.
Well, that's it. I really like how they turned out. Now there's a few ways that you can customize this build. You can put a team logo in the middle of the union using the technique I showed you in the American flag build using a Dremel. You can also make these white stripes a little bit lighter by burning them less or adding more white stain, and then have the players sign them and it'll really make it pop. And finally, you can make an engraved plate and put it on here that says the team name, the season, and then a thank you message to the coach. Well, now it's time for you to get out there and build one of your own. I hope you enjoyed this project as much as I enjoyed building it. And if you want another project like this one, go ahead and click this box right here. That's it for this video. We'll see you next time.